Hello, 30 Rockers, and welcome back to 30 Rock. Today is day 160, and started off the day bright and early in the morning, going and feeding about 50 HR professionals for their meeting this morning, and got invited in to share our food with them, and it was fantastic. I mean, there was just a lot of great responses, a lot of curious looks about what it was all about. It's always interesting a lot of times when people have their first experience with raw foods, and especially with the sweets, and they're concerned about sugar. And we tell them that we use agave, we use maple syrup, and those have got their pros and cons as well, but it's not refined sugar. And until they taste it, they're a little bit reticent, and then once they do, they get very excited, and a lot of them usually want more. And then we also had a farmer's market yesterday that we brought our food to, and that was absolutely fantastic. One of the things that I think is the most interesting, and this ties in a little bit to what I talked about yesterday, about this person that said they went raw for a week, didn't notice any changes. And a couple of you have commented, and if you watch my vlogs, you'll know that, boy, within 7 days of eating raw, I sure noticed a difference. And I wonder if this person that didn't experience anything, either A, if they were looking for something way too big in just 7 days, or I don't know. I mean, for me, I turned to eating this way because of health and weight issues. If you're somebody that isn't struggling with any of those, and you decide that if you don't have any health issues, you're not allergic to anything, you're not overweight, and you start eating raw foods, maybe you're not going to notice a big difference, because you're already going from a place of feeling and being fairly healthy. And so maybe that's the case sometimes. And one of the reasons why this kind of a transformation isn't for everybody, and while I like to think that even if you're healthy, you can always be healthier, you look at some prime athletes that eat this way, and they're at the height of their sport, and they could probably eat whatever they wanted to. They choose this way, and they say it helps them perform better. So I always think there's room for improvement regardless of where you're at. But I think that for so many of us that notice just drastic improvements, it's maybe because of where we were at in our health before we started to try to eat this way. And so I don't put a whole lot of weight on the fact that somebody says, well, for me it didn't work. And the reason I don't do that is because this is our own journey. And so I encourage you, if you've got people that say that, try it for yourself, because everybody's experience will be different. And if you're trying to overcome some things, be it obesity, arthritis, diabetes, whatever the case may be, that maybe you've got, I've heard about people with IBS and all sorts of other things. So your experience will be your own experience. And so I encourage you to definitely give it a try. And for some people, maybe it doesn't make a huge difference. And that's fine too. I just know that for most of us, for a lot of us, it sure does make a huge difference to be getting more fruits and vegetables into our diet and more raw living food into our diet, because we're going to get the enzymes, our body's going to get what it needs, and we're going to be fed. When we were at the farmer's market, it was really interesting because one of our specials was basil fried rice. And so we had basil fried rice, and people were coming up and they were taking little samples, and the explanation of, this isn't fried, and it's really not rice. And most people, it didn't bother them one bit. They tried it and they loved it, but more importantly, the most common thing was, wow, I just eating this makes me feel like this is going to be good for me, because they taste the freshness, and they understand that, boy, this is different. And I think just on a gut check level, it made sense to people. We can get into it. You can overtalk the science and what's behind it and all those things. But I think that our bodies know. I mean, we've talked about, letting your body be the guide to what you're going to eat, and understanding the difference between an old craving and the old way you used to do things, and understanding what it is your body's really calling for. And so basil fried rice was a huge hit yesterday, as well as some other things. But it's great to be able to share that. Our biggest barrier to getting into some of these events is not that people don't want the food, because they do. Yesterday was a huge success. But it's talking to the city, which is always interesting, because any city we go to, they've got their own health requirements, and I should be used to it by now, but starting that whole dialogue all over again about that there's no meat, there's no dairy, there's no heat. They see some of the menu items and they say, well, what about this? And we explain it to them. and they're just so perplexed on what to do with. I mean, if we just said we were coming out with a tray of vegetables, it would probably make more sense to them. But because we prepare it, it's not really just a tray of fruits and veggies anymore. But it's interesting to be constantly having that dialogue with people in the city that are so concerned about food safety, and that's great. It's a good thing. And then to have people that, once they try it, I think there's just an intuition that they get it. They might not understand how all the food combination works and how you can, how you can make a lemon tart out of fruits and vegetables and not use dairy and not use sugar and still have it taste fantastic. But they get what it is. So the constant explanation is out there, and the more that I have to explain it, just the more reinforced I am on how I feel every day and how I'm doing on my journey. And so again, I just encourage you, if you're out there, and there's going to be naysayers in anything, but the fact of the matter is, this isn't some complex diet out there. This is just getting more fruits and vegetables into your body in a tasty, healthy way. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be sharing. We've got some other big events coming, and some other just things are starting to take off in a way that that we hoped that they would. But you got to try the food. So if you're out there and you're on the fence, find a raw place next to you. Get a cookbook and start trying to make some things. Reintroduce yourself to what your body wants and desires, and put down the McDonald's and the Burger King. That's my recommendation to you. So the weekend's upon us, and so I'll be out for a couple of days, but I will film the events over the next few days. The other thing I hope to be sharing with you today was the ultrasound, and yesterday got so busy that we actually pushed it off a couple of days. So I will be sharing that with you next week. But until tomorrow, or until next time, keep making great choices out there, and rock on.